Good morning, everyone. We're just letting everybody in from the waiting room. This is our fourth installment of our Hard Conversations series. And I see some familiar faces.
Everyone's in from the waiting room.
Okay, all right, very good. That was a quick entrance, maybe record entrance. All right. Katrina, good to see you. All right, wonderful. Well, I am Erin Oots, and I am here hosting our Hard Conversation today. This is a series that's in partnership with the SBA sponsored programs or here in the Upstate. We have Jerry Smith with SCORE. So Jerry, if you'll want to take a second.
Sure. Yeah, like Gary just said, Jerry Smith with SCORE. We're a nonprofit organized under the SBA. And we're really just here to help small businesses any way we can, particularly with one-on-one mentoring. So if anybody out there is interested in getting a mentor, it doesn't cost anything. Just head over to our website at piedmont.score.org. And I'll be sort of in the background on the panel, here to ask and answer questions, anything that's related to small business. Thanks.
Good, Jerry, thank you very much. And we also have Anna Parra, who is the director of the Women's Business Center with Community Work. So Anna.
Hi, thanks, Erin. Yeah, I am the program director here at the Community Works Women's Business Center. Like SCORE, we are an SBA resource partner that provides consulting, coaching, and training and education to specifically women business owners, but we work with everyone. So all are welcome to take advantage of our services. We are a part of, like I said, Community Works, which is a CDFI in the Upstate that serves all of South Carolina. As the Women's Business Center, we serve 15 counties in the Upstate. So we are pretty new. I think the newest of all the partners, launched last year, but now have a year under our belt and look forward to continuing to working with women and with women business owners in all stages, whether that's idea on the napkin phase or a growth phase. We are here to offer help in all those different parts. Thanks so much.
Anna, thank you very much. And Earl Gregory has joined us. He is the Greenville area manager of the Small Business Development Center. So Earl.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Erin. Yes, I am the area manager for the Greenville office of the Small Business Development Center. And much like what Anna was telling you, we help small businesses with challenges day in and day out, whatever it is that might come your way. We're one of your best first phone calls. We don't cost you anything. One-on-one consulting is available at no charge. And we also do educational programs, much like you're going to see today, as well as connecting the dots on resources. So welcome, everybody.
Good, and welcome, Earl, and thanks, everyone. As I said, this is the fourth of a series. The first one was how to talk about finances, conversations with lenders and investors, hosted by Earl. The second one was how to talk about sales, conversations with customers, and that was hosted by SCORE, but presented by Larry Block. The third one was how to talk about networking, conversations to best explain your business, and that was hosted by the Women's Business Center, Anna. These are all recorded, and I don't know where they're available right now. But they will be available.
They're actually on our 10 at the Top's YouTube playlist under Upstate Entrepreneur Ecosystem. But I'll send out a recap afterwards that has links to all of them too.
Great. So they're on the 10 at the Top YouTube channel under Upstate Entrepreneur Ecosystem. So excellent. Good. Thank you. And so today our hard conversations are about communicating problems, talking to your partners, talking to your employees, as well as, what kind of legal considerations do you need to consider. So we're going to go around and have our panel members introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. So first of all, I'm going to start with Chelsea Rickard. She is our attorney who's going to make sure we stay out of trouble.
Hi there, my name is Chelsea, and I am an attorney and co-owner of a law firm in Spartanburg called A Business Law Firm. So we work directly with businesses and business owners in starting their businesses, building them, representing them in court if you have to go there. But really it's an all around kind of full service business firm.
Great, Chelsea, thank you. And then we have Caroline Gaddis.
Hi, my name is Caroline Gaddis, and I work for the City of Anderson Economic Development. And my specific title is Entrepreneurial Programming and Events Manager. So I facilitate a lot of programs in Anderson for entrepreneurs, one specifically being called The Brew, which several of you may have this in your community, but we're going to talk a little bit about it later.
Very good. And I saw that you're starting your monthly series again.
Yes, it's actually happening right now in our office. So we have a series right now called BYOB, Build Your Own Business, and they're talking about accounting right now, right outside of here.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today, Caroline. All right, and then we have Stephanie Acker.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Stephanie Acker, and I'm the Chief Experience Designer for Design the Experience and the Marketing Mastered. I'm extremely passionate about small businesses. And I want to help see more of them grow. So the Marketing Mastered is a tool to help small business owners that are wearing all the hats, as we know, right? All the hats to learn how to market and grow their business in little bite-sized segments in 10 minutes or less. Really tactical, practical tools that they can go to learn how to market their business so they don't get priced out and they can grow and it's really inexpensive for them.
Very good, Stephanie, thank you. And then we are going to start today with Terrence Hawes and Chris Jefferson. So Terrence, would you take a minute or two just to introduce yourself?
Sure, sir. Again, excuse my voice. We are candidates for city council, so we've been doing a lot of talking lately. And so I'm just getting my voice right. But I'm a serial entrepreneur, small business owner located in downtown Spartanburg. Entrepreneurship has changed my family life. I was raised in poverty, and through mentorship and entrepreneurship, we was able to be one of the 4.5% that make it out of poverty into the next income brackets. And so I just want to keep building and keep striving and bring others up through the process of entrepreneurship. And my wife and I, we have this thing called the 3 Ps. So that's profit, that's passion and purpose. And so each business that we start or invest into, we put it in one of those departments. So we first do a analyzation of the business, see the profit of it, the revenue return, see what it can bring. If it's a high potential profit, it goes under the profit department. But if it's something that we're passionate about, it goes under that. But purpose, the profit business and the profit and the passion businesses help fund the purpose businesses. There's things that we know we're called to do. And so I'm just glad to be on this call with my business partner, Siege.
Good. Terrence, thank you. So Chris Jefferson, who goes by Siege, as you may have heard. So would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, first I'm saying I'm very uncomfortable with seeing Christopher on here. No, I'm joking. And I'm the one who put it in, but yeah, I go by Siege in the community. So I'm just happy to be here. I think Terrence articulated that very well. You know, entrepreneurship is something that has become a lifestyle for me. And especially being equitable in this society is very, very important to have different means and different avenues and streams. So we are co-founders of Elephant Group, which is a full service record label and publishing company. And then our nonprofit leg is Bars Academy, which is branding, artistry, resources, and skills. And we help youth with skill set building through entrepreneurship and music. So music is the tool that we use, and we discover those parallels between becoming an independent artist and becoming a business owner. I promise you, they're the same. And so we use that as that tool. We also work with the parents as well. We do courses and classes at SEC downtown campus. So just a pleasure to be here with you guys today.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. And thank you for coming on to talk about some of your hard conversations. So y'all have been in business for 6 years, is that correct? Okay, so in those 6 years as business partners, you must have had some difficult, challenging conversations. Can you tell us about one or two of those and, maybe what you would do different and what you've learned from that?
Yeah, I just have a couple in mind. Now, he can't talk very well, so I get to just say everything that he just does wrong and all that.
Hey, my voice. That don't mean I can't articulate, bro. It's just my voice is gone.
No, but thinking of that, one of the first things that come to mind for me, and some of our challenges has been in the creation phase. And I have kind of two examples of that, but just literally the beginning of it. I mean, even when we went into Start Me, for example, which is a accelerator for minority businesses, and we went into that, and we ended up winning that, or gaining the capital to start an organization with it. And I'll be honest, our first meeting, when we had to do our first pitch, our first spiel, our biggest issue was we didn't even know how to be able to articulate what we were doing. And we were on 2 different pages. Like, we thought we knew because we had talked about it, we're doing this together. And what we even came in for wasn't what we left out. Like, we came in thinking we needed a van. We still to this day don't have a van because it just was something that, I'm not saying we don't need it, but it was something that we had other priorities to reach. So it was the creation phase of figuring out first, what is our why in this? Like, what is in our hands? Let's say that all the time. How can we best affect the people, or in business wise, the clients, that you are going to come in contact with? How can I best affect them? And then how can we deliver that message to them? So if, for example, like Elephant Group, that's the name of our label. Well, some of you are probably wondering, what in the world does that mean? So let me say this. Terrence he's like, I'm the creative one. Like, I have these broad ideas and I'm like, oh man, let's do this. Hey, let's do this. All right, then let's do that. Now here's what we're going to do. Boom, then it's going to be like that. Oh, this is going to be amazing. That's how I go. And he's like, okay, Siege, now here's what we need to do to make this real. First, we need to go get this license. Then I'm like, oh man, here we go.
Smart goals.
That's right. But that's how we work together. We understand our roles, and not saying he's not creative and not saying I don't have business acumen, but we understand what our strengths are. And so even with Elephant Group, it was just a broad idea. But watch this. The elephant is the only animal that will never leave another elephant, even if it's not part of its family, until it either saves it or it dies. It's the only animal that creates a path, knocks down trees to get to where it's going, right? And then others walk behind it. So now you start getting this understanding of the why of Elephant Group, but then it's like, oh no, oh yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And so it's understanding that, and then keeping the integrity of our why, figuring it out, has been a big part of having those tough conversations, then reeling it in, figuring out how we can play our roles in that together. And then ultimately, we can achieve that which we set out to do. That's how we combat it. And maybe News, you can talk. I call him News, y'all, too. News. That's his nickname. Maybe speak about maybe pivoting.
Yeah. So, of course, we just experienced the pandemic, which hit a lot of small businesses really hard, and it affected us greatly. We did yearly college tours, which these colleges have a set aside budget to pay us to come and perform for the students. And I mean, about 16, 20 stops a year. All of them was gone. And so that's a huge chunk of our yearly revenue that was now gone. And so we had to sit down and reassess our budget. And that was tough. We was looking at everything now, every department, everything we had broken down. We was reassessing the importance of it and the return of revenue on it. And we was about to let our office go. Our office space, because it was like, why are we paying rent here when we can just do this out the office? or rent a conference room when needed. And it was tough conversations with the Elephant Group, with Boys Academy. And um, with Boys Academy, did we want to continue in front classes in front of the students teaching, even though it's a pandemic going on, or should we invest in camera equipment and shoot virtual courses for the kids? And I was like, me being a budget guy, I'm like, man, if we take this budget, what we got left, that's going to help us pay up the rent for this amount of time and invest in camera equipment, then we're only going to have 2 months of rent left. Right?
And I was like, who cares? We can get this brand new camera that just came out. We're going to have high quality. And I'm going to jump in right here, dude, because and then we had to come together. But watch this. I'm going to send a shot of encouragement and inject this into you. This is big, right? So we had, true story, we completely cleaned out our office. We were moving. Like, we cleaned everything out. We gave a bunch of stuff away. We were like, hey, man, I'm going to just do it in the den at my house. You know, you do it in the den at your house, and we'll do it that way. And then this is the power of, like, us still understanding what was important. We weren't upset. We weren't mad. Mind you, we were just doing a big concert at Barnett Park. And we had invested over $20,000 into this huge concert that 5 days before COVID hit. And we lost. It wasn't no getting that back. No, you can't go get radio time back and promotions and all that stuff. You know, that was gone. You know, that was in the cloud, as they say. You know, so and at that point is when we were like, you know what? And here I go. And what we did together though was, he said, well, how about we get just a few of the things that we do need, and let's keep it in budget. So what we ended up doing, we put it out. We ended up getting some assistance because people had seen the work that we had done and the diligence that we had done it at. So even though we were together in our decision making, doing what was best for us as a company and as an organization, there were people who sold into us and allowed us to stay in our office. And then this is the good part: the fact that we had cleared everything out. We, at that point in time, we started getting more inquiries about, hey, do you guys have online options for Bars Academy? We was like, yeah. You know, we didn't even have it all together. We were like, yeah, definitely. And what happened? Funds started coming in. People were reallocating funds for virtual, and they still needed our services. And the fact that we had cleaned out the office, it left it open for a huge studio because everything was gone. So what it ended up being was we used those cameras. We created a new platform on our website, barsacademy.com. You can see all of our courses and classes and videos we've done. And it was amazing how we pivoted just by understanding what we were, who we were. We did it together. You know, we used our skill sets and our mindsets in a way that merged. And then we had the most successful year we've had with our organization in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing.
We took about a $2,500, $3,000 investment into video camera equipment and ended up receiving like over $60,000 in grants and programming funding. And so that just tells you about when you just get together and you trust each other and you make the best decision forward. And you put in your best work, how everything will pave out. And so that's one of the toughest decisions we have made, but one of the most fruitful decisions that we made.
I think that was right at our time. That was perfect timing. And now we have new equipment. We have new cameras. We're able to shoot with 6K. We're doing amazing things for young artists. They're shooting videos and they're getting these high quality stuff. And we're like, man, there was a point in time where we didn't even know what was next for us. We honestly didn't.
So guys, it sounds like that by having the guiding elephant, that helped you make it through, help kind of just keep y'all on track with these difficult conversations.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And it helps to again, me and C's, we got history and so it helps to be in business with someone that you trust and that has integrity. I didn't have to question anything, and I know he feels the same part, and so that was just helpful being a partner with someone. with
I'm glad you
integrity.
said that. We can go into separate meetings, separate places. Had he not been able to show up today, it would have been okay. He knows that I'm a great representation of him and his character, even when he's not here. And that's a big part of it is, like you said, making sure you have a great understanding of the integrity of what you're doing. And we're family, and at the end of the day, it's always both of our best interests on anything that we do.
Very good.
This is a
All right,
great
well, thank
topic, guys. What you guys are doing right now, it's actually very unique and unusual, that partnership you have. We talk about tough conversations. Often the toughest conversations are between partners. And especially if it's in a situation where it's a family business, where you've got brothers, sister, uncles, whatever. So what you guys are doing is really special, that communication, that bond that you have. So you talk about tough conversations, the challenges that you've overcome, the successes that you've had, and through that partnership, you're really able to bring that together in a very unique way. So super impressive and great story, guys.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Very good. So thank you. And so Anna, you said put something in chat.
I did, because I was echoing, I was typing it while Jerry was talking, but I'm just echoing the idea of those conversations being internal, and how sometimes those are the most difficult conversations. But I love how you all, Terrence and Siege, had that conversation about what was most important to the business, kind of focusing, honing in on the priority. And even though it meant being very expensive investment, it made sense for you all, but it took kind of having that conversation amongst yourselves. I love that example.
Very
And
good.
I want to add too, what he talked about, profit, passion, and purpose, and we really do. And that's a great way when you're talking with your partners. When you're in business, you have to be able to identify those things, because as you categorize those things and identify them, you know what's best for that season. If it's a season where we've had high profit, then maybe the things that we're passionate and purposed about when it comes to the different verticals of the business are important during that time. But when we are at a point where it's like, man, we don't have the pennies script together. Well, how do we profit and make those, so understanding those dynamics, but you have to be on the same page with those dynamics, or, down those phrases.
Very good. All right, thank you. So Chelsea, who is our attorney with a business law firm, as in hearing them and thinking about other business partners that you might have worked with, what kind of documents or other agreements might need to be in place to help if something doesn't go right?
Yeah. So I've had the unfortunate, I guess you could say, experience of having to represent co-business owners who came into a dispute, and we had to figure it out in court. That's a reality that some people have had to face. But when we're talking about difficult conversations, particularly between business partners and in businesses, a lot of that comes as a result of a surprise, right? Something that was unforeseen or not expected. And what we try to do at my firm, and what I help my clients with, is trying to minimize those surprises so that you don't end up in court or something like that. So the best way as a business owner to minimize surprises is to ensure the legal health of your business, setting up as much stuff in advance at the beginning when you start your business, making sure that, particularly between business owners, if you're partners, you've got a partnership agreement. If you're an LLC, that you've got an operating agreement. And if you're a corporation, that you've got bylaws, because those types of what I call legal infrastructure, those types of agreements, they lay out how we're going to handle these difficult situations. If something happens to a partner, how are we going to handle that? If you want to bring in another member, how are we going to handle that? If you want to sell some of your interests, how are we going to value that interest? Those types of things. And then making sure that you've got contracts, if you're a service company, or even if you are providing a good, making sure that you've got contracts in place. A lot of people don't want to spend the time or money to make sure that they've got a solid contract. But making sure that you've got a good contract. You can spend $2,000 to make sure you have a good contract to save $20, $30, $40, $50,000 down the road in potential legal fees to try to recoup some sort of debt or something like that. So there are tons of ways that you can make sure that your business is what I call legally healthy, that you've got even independent contractor agreements to make sure that those folks that are working for you are indeed independent contractors, and you're not surprised by some sort of, workers' comp claim or wage dispute with a potential employee down the road. So, taking the time at the very beginning, or maybe even if you have a seasoned business, to take a breather, go talk to someone, and make sure that your business is legally healthy and you've got that infrastructure in place with documents and agreements so that you're minimizing surprises. And if you haven't done that and you do have a surprise that comes up and you've got to have a difficult conversation, then kind of dealing in reality in a sense. One thing that we also do is helping business owners come up with a succession plan, because death is a reality that we will all deal with. And that is something that is difficult if you haven't come up with a plan of what you or your co-business owner will do in the event of something happening to you, can make their life obviously very difficult. So setting up that type of plan, not only just for your family, but for your co-business owner, can be incredibly important too.
Chelsea, thank you. And I would think just getting to those conversations that we need to have some of this in, our legal foundation will be difficult too.
Sure.
So,
I mean, dealing with the legalities of it all that's not the fun side of it, especially when you're getting going and your business is growing so fast. That's the exciting stuff. You want to be dealing with the marketing. You want to be looking at your numbers and everything. And I get it. So, we try to be as quick and easy and as simple as possible, but it is a necessary aspect.
Yeah. Good. Well, Chelsea, thank you. Thank you. So now I want to turn to Stephanie. Stephanie has had a roller coaster entrepreneurial career, and she's going to talk to you about difficult conversations with employees.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everybody. So as Erin mentioned, I'll kind of address that up front because actually it's interesting. This is interesting timing. I have something kind of going on right now that's a lot of hard conversations too. So I had a business that I started when I first moved back here after my corporate job, and I did not have the right conversations with a potential investor, and it really hurt us financially, and to the point where I ended up deciding to shut the business down so that I didn't have any kind of ties to him. He is currently being pursued legally very hard by plenty of people. But because I didn't have some of those tough conversations and kind of man up early on to start questioning, and when I started seeing things, I was just too hopeful, honestly. I had to just stop the business and say, I'm not doing it. I can't stay connected to this at all. And I'm gonna get out. And it really affected my health a lot as well. So when I started doing Design the Experience and the Marketing Mastered, I knew, one, that I had to have tough conversations. I knew that I had to be really clear with my team exactly what was going to happen, what were my expectations. I knew I didn't want any external, I didn't want an investor coming in, especially early on, because I wanted to be really careful. And I was really upfront with my team about what had happened, which was hard for me to kind of for a while, as Erin knows, because I'd reached out to her, I was really floating because I was like, wait a minute, I've dreamed about opening my own business for all this time, and suddenly I really just started not trusting my gut and saying, what have I done wrong? Should I not be listening to myself, et cetera, et cetera. And it was kind of like an existential crisis in a way. I know that sounds a little over the top, but that's what it felt like. And I had to get very real with myself about what was going on and what I really cared about and why I let this person snowblow me, and my part in that, right? And what I owned out of it. And I wanted to bring that to my team. So from the very beginning with the team, we've had this really clear understanding of pure authenticity. So it's like, listen, we're here to support each other. We're here for everybody to do well and to grow. And part of that is being honest and being upfront, not playing games, not pretending. If you're not happy, we've got to address it. If something is going right, let's talk about it so that we pay more attention to it and people know what's going on. If you're having a hard day personally, come in and tell us. It's okay. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody is. We don't need to, we're not living an Instagram life here. And I feel like that's been a really critical part of growing the culture in the business, because we are all human beings. And that's kind of one of the key things that I look at when we talk about dealing with a tough conversation, is I try very hard to come at it from a human being standpoint first. And I think that's what I used to not do. So being in the corporate world, I loved people and I loved what I did, but it's kind of, you're running a team of 200 people. It's pretty easy to forget that they're all human beings and they have their own stories and their own things going on. And now I try to say, listen, what's really happening in this person's life? And so one of the first things I'll say, if I'm having any type of conflict with someone or I'm seeing them have conflict with someone, is I start with, hey, are you okay? So I want to open that door for them to address if there's something not. And I'm shocked by how often somebody will go, okay, actually, this is what's going on. And then I have complete and total, I'm like, okay, this makes so much more sense of what's going on. Or I might have to probe a little bit with them. But I found that to be really powerful, just stopping. And especially if I'm irritated, stepping back and saying, okay, let's talk. But before I start, are you okay? Talk to me. What's going on? And people will just let down their guard. I think that's what you need in order to have real conversations. It's nobody likes conflict. Certain people obviously hate conflict, so they get really nervous. But if I can come at them from help me understand what's going on in your life and then how that's affecting what's going on here, then I can come at you from a different level. Maybe I can help you in certain ways, or maybe you just need to talk about it and be upfront about it. And then I can give you the feedback that I need to give you. This is what's happening. This is why it's not working. And here are my expectations. And here's what has to happen next. So I always want to make sure I have a conversation with, and here's what's going to happen next. The other thing that I try to do is, my dad taught me this. He was an entrepreneur. Praise in public, criticize in private. I think that's probably one of the best things I've learned as a leader, is that, there's nothing better than you praising people in front of their peers, and especially when it's authentic and real. But you can absolutely crush someone with something that you think is a minor criticism, but saying it in front of their peers, can just completely blow up their entire day, obviously, but it also can really affect their confidence. And if they're going to be willing to say something out loud in a group, if we're trying to create an area of authenticity and openness, if you're going to criticize me in front of people, I'm going to be scared to say the things that I need to say. And nobody knows better what's really happening in your business than your team. Right? Like we're up here, or we're running all over the place, but everybody knows if they're on the ground, what's really going on. I need them to feel really honest and open that they're going to talk with me about it. So I've learned, pretty quickly that criticizing in any way is not the way. Now I can disagree with you and I can say, I don't agree with that. Or, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but here are what my thoughts are, and they're different, but not being like you're wrong, or that's what you're terrible, obviously, anything like that. The other thing I wanted to bring up, which I think is a little different maybe than what originally Aaron and Justine were thinking about, but because of some stuff that's going on right now, I thought maybe it would be helpful, is I have recently had to really realize that I am also an employee of my business, and I am an employee of me. And I don't think that way. One of my key kind of purposes in life is to create abundance for others. How do I create abundance in the community? How do we create abundance in people's lives, et cetera? And I'm really focused on that for others. And I pay no attention for creating any type of abundance in my own life. And when I say abundance, I mean like the abundance of energy and passion and love and health and everything. But because I just, love it. I give it all away and I love it, love it, love it. And I just go, wait a minute, I feel like a husk. What's going on now? So I've started this new practice where I actually am having essentially reviews with myself. And I just had one last week and it was pretty pivotal, made some big decisions out of it. And just treating myself just like I would an employee. What's working, what's not, what's going on with me? Am I creating the abundance for others and for myself? where's my barometer internally? And having that kind of, it's a really tough discussion to have with yourself, because it's easy to pretend that, or just to think, especially if you're successful dollar-wise, or everything's great, we're doing really well, whatever the case may be, or, if you win awards or whatever the case is, it's easy to kind of mask maybe what the bigger piece is. And I really liked is it Siege, right? Am I saying that right?
That's right.
So what Siege was saying earlier about that there being this piece of, and also Terrence with the piece of the passion and the purpose, for me, all that's interwoven. And I'm sure it is for you guys as well. And so I sometimes just go, okay, well, we're being profitable, and you can get offline really easily. So I don't know if that is helpful a little bit, but that's been something I've been dealing with, and I found it to be really powerful, and it is triggering some significant moves actually in my life.
Stephanie, thank you. That was very insightful, and interestingly, it dovetails very nicely with what Terrence was saying, in that you have to recognize that it's you're just dealing with people. You have to know them, and also that driving principle, that helps you stay kind of in line. Very good. Anybody have any questions so far? I see Justine asked if you have a business or life coach.
So I do. I have a personal coach, like somebody I consider to be my mentor. She really is a business mentor, but she truly is more my life mentor. She was the one that taught me to do the internal reviews with myself. She lives in Australia, unfortunately, so I don't get to see her very often. She's from my old life over in Asia. But that's been huge. And I am actually looking for someone locally that could be more of a coach. I thrive in that environment where I can really think and get kind of, inside my head and other people's heads. And so I am looking for that as well. I just have learned it's so critical. It's just so easy to focus outwards and then forget that at the end of the day, it's everything inside that's going to continue to feed everything that you're building around you. And if you're not doing that piece, then what's going to happen? And I have a team around me of people that rely on me, and I don't want to fail them. I don't want to let them down because suddenly I don't have anything else left to give.
Stephanie,
So if
thank
anybody
you.
has any great ideas, please let me know.
Good. Keisha made a comment. Do you want to?
Hey. SWOT analysis.
Yeah, so I do a personal SWOT analysis on myself. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my threats? So I look at myself when I do before I have my annual review here as an employee, I look at myself first and say, what can I improve on? And where are the areas of weaknesses that I can find strength in? And then who do I ask to help me in those areas, right? And it doesn't always have to be one of my peers. It can be someone total external. I have no idea. Hey, I have a weakness here. Do you mind helping me change that from a weakness to a strength, right? And so listening to them with listening ears, as my godchild would say, make sure you have your listening ears on and hearing what they're not saying. Because sometimes they'll be so nice. And so I don't want you to be nice to me. I don't need nicety. I need truth, right? And so and absorbing it, retaining it, and then actually putting it into action. So yeah, a SWOT analysis works every year.
I love that.
Keisha, thank you for sharing. So Chelsea is back up. So to talk to us about anything that we need to consider in talking with our team, our employees. We're in kind of a interesting, potentially contentious environment. So, and rules are changing too. So Chelsea?
Yeah, well, legally speaking, I mean, the first and foremost, when you're talking anytime with either a potential hire or a current employee, you do need to, always keep in mind the, anti-discrimination statutes, disability, all those types of things, age discrimination, Title VII, all that stuff. But really, when we're handling employees and independent contractors, just like Stephanie was saying, being upfront with them is most important. And the way legally that you can be upfront with them is what I say, kind of like define the relationship. Define what your relationship is with that person, whether they are an employee or whether they are an independent contractor. That is probably one of the most, the things that I deal with most often with folks is someone doesn't know whether or not they're an independent contractor or an employee, and they don't have an independent contractor agreement in place. So having good, solid policy handbooks for your employees, and then actually having an agreement in place if you want to hire an independent contractor, will most certainly protect you. And also it defines that relationship. So there is no question with that person as to what it is that they are doing for you and what those expectations are when it comes to performing that work for you. And so if you ever do have to have a difficult conversation with that person, you have something to go back on. If they're not clear about an expectation, you've got a job description. Or if they're not clear about what your policy is, you've got a policy handbook to look back on. And if it's an independent contractor, if they're not sure about the scope of work, well, you've got an agreement to go back to look at, to have that conversation with them. So being upfront, defining the relationship at the very beginning, and then having either a handbook or an agreement put in place between the two of you so that your expectations are always clear can be incredibly important.
Good. Thank you very much. Good. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to Caroline Gaddis. Caroline, as you know, is with City of Anderson, and she runs the Brew. And I'm going to let her talk about, well, I'm not going to let her. She is going to talk about the Brew and the founders who stand up in front of 20, 30 people every week. Oh, she's just got her brew on.
I love it.
And how they express their challenges in these hard conversations, and then how the community responds.
Yes, thank you so much for asking me to participate in this. So for those of you who are not aware of what the Brew is, I'll explain it briefly. You can see our logo behind Lakeisha right now, but the Brew is a regional program, and it features business ideas with community feedback. So different communities do it differently, but here in Anderson, we meet every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. And each week, a different entrepreneur speaks about their business. So they stand up in front of all the attendees and they share about what they do, why they do it, why they started it, about what goods or services they offer. And then they end their presentation, this is the kicker, with 3 to 4 questions for the audience's feedback about challenges that they're facing or areas in which they would like to grow their business. So it is really hard to get people to present at the Brew. And for those of you that organize the Brew in your communities, you can attest to this because you're asking entrepreneurs to stand up and be vulnerable with the community. It is a huge ask. You're not just asking for a sales pitch. It's much more than that. And you're essentially asking the entrepreneur to stand up, ask for the feedback, and then be willing to accept what the community has to say to you. So from my personal experience, I've been running this program or a program similar to it for 3 years now in Anderson. We have never had anybody get ugly. People ask me that, like, oh my gosh, is someone going to be ugly? No, they do not. It's always constructive criticism. And it's not even that most of the time. Most of the time it's encouragement, but there's just a few little stories that I can pick out that stand out among the rest over the 3 years of doing this program. The first being a chiropractor. And she came to me, just meeting with me in my office one day, and said, hey, Caroline, my business is struggling because chiropractors have such a negative connotation around their name in this area. What can I do to prevent that or to prove that wrong? And I said, oh, you've got to talk at the Brew because these people will be able to help you. And so she spoke at the Brew, and that was her question. How can I, as a professional, dispel all of these rumors? And so it was an amazing session where people brainstormed with her and gave her ideas of different ways to market herself and different groups to speak in front of. And it was really pivotal in her business journey as a chiropractor. Another one that I can think of is an art gallery. And so they were struggling with getting foot traffic. And so their question was, how do we get better foot traffic? And someone said, well, what does the exterior of your building look like? And so we pulled it up on Google Earth, and the signage was terrible. And that was the first thing someone said was, well, I wouldn't even know it's an art gallery. And so it spurred this conversation, and they applied for a sign grant and they got it, and they changed their signage. And so it's little things like that that have been really cool to see in the brew, and these people being willing to be vulnerable and open themselves up, but then it helps launch their business in a different direction. As the city, I have spoken at the brew before. And so that was very nerve-wracking as the government to open yourself up to criticism, because people love to point fingers at the city when something's going wrong. And so we have an event that we host the first Friday of every month called First Friday, where we encourage retailers to stay open late and people to come downtown. And the event just really wasn't kicking off well in Anderson. So I spoke as the city and talked about First Friday and asked for everybody to give me feedback. And you talk about a gut punch. I felt like people were throwing darts at me the whole time, anywhere from the trash being picked up on the wrong date to we need to shut the streets down every week. The streets have to be shut down. And so I actually got to experience it on the other side as well. But it was one of the best things for me because, one, I felt like I learned how to smile and nod diplomatically. Even when something was a terrible idea and I knew it couldn't happen, that person didn't need to necessarily know that because it wasn't a make or break decision. But for example, shutting the streets down. Everyone said, you have to shut the streets down. You have to shut the streets down. Well, part of our problem is people aren't coming out to First Friday. So why would we shut Main Street down if we're having 100 people? You don't need to shut streets down for that. 2, police and fire have to reroute if that's the case. And it's a public safety hazard at that point. So we as a team came back and said, you know what, if they really want the streets shut down, let's come up with a festival that shuts the streets down. And so we are launching a festival in the spring where the streets will be closed for 2 days. And so we can now say that we listened. We can't shut the streets down every month, but we are going to do a festival where we shut the streets down. So while it was not necessarily the best idea for the specific event, it was a great idea in theory, and it's something that we could learn from and apply in a different way. And then lastly, we had a local boutique come and speak and say that they were really struggling with social media interaction. They were not getting much traction, didn't know what to do. So everyone in the audience started looking up their social media. And someone raised their hand and said, hey, you don't do any try-on videos or videos of you wearing the clothes or any of your employees wearing the clothes. You just do still shots. So maybe you should try to incorporate video. That day, she went back and did a Facebook Live of her store so everyone could see what her store looked like. And then she started doing try-on videos. Well, then it slowly started spreading and everyone downtown was doing try-on videos. And so it was really neat to see how they were all feeding off of each other, but it was a great idea. And it made me more inclined to go and purchase something too when I see it on someone, how it fits, the material, things like that. So we've seen some really cool things come out of the brew, but just a few notes from it. Vulnerability is hard, no matter which way you slice it. And so when we ask people to be vulnerable as a business owner and stand up in front of their community and ask for help, that is really difficult. So the people that sign up to speak at the brew, kudos to them because that is hard. And so vulnerability is key. Accepting constructive criticism can be really hard because not only are you analyzing your business, but you're allowing the community to analyze your business and speak to it too. But I have found that when you give people a little bit of ownership in your business, they're more likely to talk about it. So I feel like whoever speaks at the brew that week in Anderson, everyone's talking about that business all week. And it's because these people feel like they've helped this business owner. And so they in turn have a little stake in the business, so to speak. And then you also have to learn how to just ignore some of the bad ideas. Sometimes they just need to go in one ear, smile on your face, out the other. Because sometimes there are some bad ideas that just aren't going to work, but people mean well. And so just learning how to accept that with grace and humility and remember that they're human too. That's a key part of the brew. But I always tell people every week at the brew, it wouldn't happen if it weren't for the community showing up and being invested in local businesses. And so that's just been the beauty of what I've gotten to see in my role as leading the brew, is seeing these entrepreneurs be vulnerable, ask the tough questions, and being willing to accept the tough responses. But it's led to some beautiful things in our local businesses. So it makes you get out of your comfort zone. But when we tend to be out of our comfort zone, that's when we see the biggest growth. So I would just encourage you, ask the hard questions, even if you don't really want to know the answer, because you never know what it could lead to.
Caroline, thank you very much. So many great stories. And, thinking about this too, it doesn't have to be a formal situation. You might be with some friends or some other business owners, and you can ask questions as well. But we have actually, Terrence and Siege have presented at what was formerly 1 Million Cups, and then Eric Cooperman, who's on today, have presented as well. Do any of y'all want us to say something about what it's like?
First, I was like, I made that school because of talking about, that we actually went to the first one I think we had in Spartanburg ever.
Yes.
That was no lie. That was a huge opportunity for us because when we went to that, first it was great. I still had that picture on my man cave at home, the picture from us there. I mean, that was a big moment. Then we met someone there. We ended up going to another presentation where we got to give our spiel on our business. And that is where we met the superintendent who gave us our first contract, which we had for 3 years to run our organization. And it all came because we went to that. So the support, and then the verbiage, just how everyone was there and had so much to pour into us. Man, it helped us going into the next one. Then we got our contract, and the rest is history. So I mean, that was a great moment for us, and I'm glad to see that it's going so strong.
Okay, they even got front page of the newspaper, and Siege did rap for us. We were very lucky. Special. Eric Cooperman, I don't know if you're listening and if you're available, but yes, you presented last month in Greer.
So I started my business back in May and presented in July to Greer, and it was really the first time that I had an opportunity to speak about the business. So I've done that. I've done a couple other events, and I've found that the practice alone of speaking and detailing and really condensing what you're saying has been the greatest reward out of all that. Of course, you get criticism, but that's just an opportunity to sharpen your knife. So if you go to your parents, they're always going to tell you, oh, sweetie, you can do anything in the world. You're the best. But when you have virtual strangers, and you have quality constructive feedback, it only makes you a better person. It only makes you a better business. So that was the really amazing part of these last few months for me is just getting that feedback and honing the skills of presenting.
Eric, thank you. I appreciate that. We have a little bit of time left. So it looks like Raquel has a question for Chelsea.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I had a question about being legally healthy. Like, where do you actually start? Like, do you, as far as the searches, I want to know where to start with the contracts and everything.
So really the first place that I would start is looking at what type of business structure you choose to adopt. So whether or not you want to be an LLC, a corporation, be taxed as an S corp, or if you're a partnership or sole proprietorship. So that's really kind of laying the groundwork for first establishing what type of structure you want to adopt, and are you being protected? Are your personal assets being protected in choosing that particular structure? And then once you go from there and you're looking forward, you can go, do you want to hire employees? Or do you choose to hire independent contractors? And then based on which route you want to go there, we look at putting in place either agreements or policy handbooks. Do you need to look at getting funding? We work on making sure that, again, you're continuously being protected and your personal assets are continuing to be protected, depending on what type of route you want to go. At my firm in particular, we have a full checkup, or you could say physical, that we do with our clients once a year, usually around tax season, where we go in and it's almost like getting your annual physical with your doctor, and we do it with our businesses and our clients, and we go through and we kind of look at all these different aspects to identify, are there any kind of holes, legal holes within your business that could expose you to some type of liability, either personally or your business. And then we say, okay, this is what we can do to plug those holes and make sure that, again, you're legally healthy. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Is there any way I can get your contact information? I already have like a technical business. It's a construction company, LLC. So
I will put my direct email in the chat.
And I'm a Clemson MBA student, by the way. So sorry, I meant to say that.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
Good. So any other questions?
Listen, I'm trying to see if she'll come and present on the brew in Spartanburg. We'd like to know what's brewing in Spartanburg with you, Rachel. This is Lakeisha Whitner. I am your, y'all know I get to carrying on, but I would love for you to come and share with us one Wednesday morning at 7:30 a.m. We can just have you jump on and share, and so people can help support you and rally around you and see what you need.
Yeah, and don't let us scare you at 7:30. It's really at 8:30.
Oh, it is 8:30. Y'all, let me tell you.
I couldn't be there at 7:30.
Because I'm with BPW at 7:30, it all just kind of runs together. So yeah, we would love to hear from you.
Good.
Okay, that'll be great.
Good. And I put the email address for spartanburgbrew@gmail.com and for Greenville. Caroline, will you put the Anderson one in there too, please? Thank you. And then as our last 4 minutes, I want to ask our panelists or our visitors here today, if there's one thing that you would, one piece of advice about bringing up a hard topic or having a hard conversation that you would pass on to business owners here.
I would like to add something. My pastor would always say to us, when he was talking to the single women in our congregation, he'd say, "Don't marry potential, marry reality." So in business, when you're going into business with a partner, realize what their reality is, and ask yourself, is that the same reality that you have? Are y'all living in the same reality? That is so crucial when you're opening a business, that your partnership is based on not what the potential will be. You hope that it will grow, you hope that it will do all these things, but what is the true reality of your situations right now? You know, can both of you walk away from your jobs? Will it take one of you walking away from your job to form this partnership? You know, but really look at that reality. And I think Terrence and Siege did such a wonderful job telling us about their reality.
Katrina, thank you. That's such important. You know, so important to keep that. All right, not look at potential. Very good. All right. So Siege, Terrence, Stephanie, Chelsea, any last?
I had just, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I would just say, when it deals with hard conversations, hard things in general, everything good is on the other side of hard. You know, if you're not having those hard conversations and hard moments, well, then you're probably stagnant. So if you are having them good, keep finding your resources and keep going.
Everything good is on the other side of hard. Another good thing to remember. All right, good, Stephanie, thank you.
I was just going to say, first of all, I love that. I'm actually going to write that on my refrigerator today. It's good timing. Is one of the things I've learned, and I'm an experienced designer, so I think that's kind of where some of it comes from. So I'm a big believer in like music and lighting and the way people stand and where they're sitting, what it sounds like, et cetera, drives behavior and can drive how people feel. When you're going to have a tough conversation, try to create an environment or go to an environment or take that environment and create it in a way that makes people feel more comfortable. I found has been really big. So that's not just like, I know we talked about, I said, don't criticize in public, take them aside. But like we have a specific chair in our office where I know people feel really comfortable. So sometimes we'll go there, or I'll look for something that has louder music around us so we feel like we're having a one-on-one conversation. I found that actually came from my mentor. And I just think I was like, I never would have thought of that. And it can be so helpful. People just really will get into a different zone with you.
Interesting. Thank you, Stephanie. Terrence or Chelsea?
Hey, I was trying to save my voice. My voice was going to have to back up, but thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just thank you for including me in today's conversation. And I think it's incredibly important. But, you know, I love seeing business owners that are passionate about what they do and about, you know, growing their business. I love working with them, and just helping them set the stones and the foundation to be able to do that. That's incredibly important. I can't stress it enough.
Oh, good. Well, and thank you all for being here. I think you were just exactly the right group. We had lots of good interaction, and thanks to all of you who attended. I hope that you have something that you learned to take away, and there will be a follow-up email to everyone who registered. So y'all have a wonderful afternoon.